Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inside Voice Sports Show. Today I'm joined by Fago Franklin III. Fago, a sports reporter out of Seattle, Washington, works for Pro Player Insiders. Fago, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get started, make sure you go follow Fago on Instagram at superjournalist87 and on YouTube at Fago Franklin III. So here we go. Fago, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us about your journey in the sports media. Everyone's story is a little bit different. Just go ahead and explain to us how you got involved in the sports world and where you're at now.
Okay. So basically, in 2012, I ended up getting myself back into school. So, everybody has so many obstacles. My obstacles, of course, were just trying to find who I was. I kept switching majors on and off for like 5-6 years. Because initially I went to school when I was 19 years old. I was supposed to transfer to Liberty University. That did not happen. So, life took me on a different course because I couldn't find what I wanted to do exactly. I also wanted to follow my dad's footsteps with being in the military, but that didn't pan out. So I'm like, how do I find myself? So I ended up going back to school. And even while I was doing courses in school, I still didn't figure myself out until my internship. My first internship was in lacrosse for trust. Nobody cares about lacrosse, but it was just something that was so unique and different for me. So I'm like, hey, this is cool. Mind you, I've been playing sports since I was 6 years old. I played basketball, I ran track. Sports was like my go-to thing, like starting off a conversation. So nevertheless, after I did my internship, I ended up getting incorporated with Pro Players Insiders. So in 2013 I did an interview with a coordinator with the Baltimore Ravens, and it fueled me. And it's like, oh my gosh, you had that that excitement, and that's what sparked my career. So I wrote and reported for numerous publications, Fox Sports 1340 AM. I was the sports editor for Inspired Magazine, Taj Magazine, and different many publications. So in 2016, I finally graduated after 10 years of trying to find out who I was and figure out what career path that I wanted to choose. So after 416 applications, 26 different interviews, made it to the third round 3 times, I finally got accepted for a position down in Washington State, working with I-5 Communications. So anyways, I worked with them for a couple of months, but unfortunately it didn't mesh. So I still was working with Fox Sports 1340 AM as well as Pro Players Insiders, more so on the freelancing side. But those are the many obstacles that I had to overcome, as well as, just trying to figure a way to brand myself and be a little bit different from everybody else in the sports media world. So that's just a little bit about who I am and just how I got into the field.
Okay, and just looking through your social media, man, it really seems like you've been everywhere and done everything, whether it's the Super Bowl, the NFL draft, MLB games, even I saw Miss America on your page. What are some of your favorite events that you've covered in your early career in sports media thus far?
Ooh. I have to say 2018 Super Bowl. I'm a diehard Eagles fan, so that was my first year covering the Super Bowl. And it was just an amazing. I mean, just to watch a team win in person is just an amazing feeling. And I never thought the Eagles was going to win any type of Super Bowl or anything of that nature. So that was a blessed feeling, as well as being beside Kobe Bryant. That was just an amazing feeling in itself. And it was like, hey, I'm family here. I didn't get to talk with Kobe Bryant because there was like media outlets that were, swarming him. I did talk to his daughter, Gigi, for maybe 2 seconds because I knew that she was a prominent star and she was becoming into her own. And I think she would have been a force within the WNBA. So those are the 2 best memories that I have with being in this field. Of course, I got to interview one of my favorite actresses, which is Lisa Ray. I want to say a couple weeks ago, actually. So that was pretty cool. But to go back to your initial question, it has to be Kobe Bryant and then 2018 Super Bowl.
Okay. And right now is a pretty crazy time around the world and inside the U.S. for us, especially in the sports world as sports media people. In what ways has the coronavirus affected the sports world for you and really the way you cover sports right now?
Ooh, with being a sports reporter, everything is on hold. So basically, you can't go after any type of stories like, we have the NFL draft. You can't, talk and get that inside access with some of these athletes. Some of them actually have beautiful stories. And so now that it makes sense for us to actually reach out to those players. And then you also have to look at, the late rounders. They won't get any looks like that because everything is stopped right now. So as far as the NFL side, that's one of the aspects, as well as opening day, WNBA, all these type of things that we cover as sports journalists, we can't cover because everything's stopped. And we don't know when it's going to, pick back up. So that's like kind of scary in itself. And, I've been talking to a lot of my media colleagues, and some of them have been let go. Some of them just don't know exactly what to do now because nobody is really hiring. So that's a little bit scary as well, especially with freelancers. So the coronavirus has definitely affected not just us, but Americans around the United States.
Okay. And I actually asked this question in an interview I did yesterday, but it'll be a very applicable question for you, someone that's been inside these major stadiums. What do you think the future of big-time professional and even college sports with mass crowds is going to look like following this pandemic?
Ooh, scary. Because like right now there's no vaccine. So hypothetically speaking, with the MLB, they're really trying to, start their season in May without fans for the time being. But say for instance in July, when America starts rolling back up, you're still going to have that uncertainty with other individuals because there's no vaccine out. So it's just like, it's going to be prejudgment. Oh, I can't sit by this person. This person is coughing. It's panic. It's a panic time right now. So I don't think the stadium's going to fill up the way that President Trump and a lot of the executive individuals want their stadiums to be filled. And then you also have to look at it from a media aspect. When sports do get back rolling, are they going to put restrictions on media like they once did before? Because media, we couldn't go in the locker rooms anymore because of the coronavirus and it was spreading. So are they still going to have those type of restrictions, or are we going to go back to the normal of being able to go to locker rooms and VIP with some of the players, agents, and different things of that nature? So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how each of these organizations will have everything set out once, sports pick back up.
And you mentioned the MLB, it's coming out right now that there's the possibility that they could ship all the teams out to Phoenix, Arizona and kind of play the season there. Do you really think that's something the players are willing to do, leaving their families during this pandemic just for our entertainment?
No. I think right now everybody is, scared right now. Of course, it's a paycheck. So you also have to look at it from a financial aspect. It's like, hey, I'm not earning any money. We're supposed to get this stimulus package, but we don't know when that's going to come in. I have my family to feed. I need to take care of X, Y, Z to those bills. And so it's like some of them are going to do it for the financial reasons, but also at the same time, you have to look at it, the longevity of it. If I go out there, I might get the coronavirus. So it's up in the air. And I just don't like it because, like, you look at, like, I don't know if you watched WrestleMania.
Yes.
WrestleMania was just really, really weird because you don't understand how the fans can make all these sports exciting. It was just boring watching that. It's just like two fighters, fighting, and then someone win this belt. Whereas you get the fans' reactions, you get the boos, you get the crowd cheering and chanting and different things of that nature, and it builds up to that momentum of a great event. So it's just like they're going to broadcast it, but are you really going to watch an MLB game without fans' reaction? Like, fans make the walk-off exciting.
I don't know. Here in Pittsburgh, they've been watching the Pirates without fans for a few years
Oh.
now, so they're already on the jump with that one. But I get what you're saying around even no matter what sport it is, not having fans in the stadium is it's going to be a different look for professional sports and even college sports, which kind of segues to my next topic in the NFL. Throughout this pandemic, they've kind of had the advantage because they weren't in season. Right now, they're getting different looks, whether it's their lawyers saying, yes, we're going to be able to play, start on time, and the doctors are saying you can't make a definitive decision right now. We obviously have the draft coming up, which is going to be a virtual draft, which is going to be very different as well. Tell me what the mood is in the NFL right now and how assured they are that they're going to get a season started on time.
From what I'm hearing from my sources, it's going to pick back up. It's going to go as is for right now, but also at the same time, players, you're not flying anywhere, and then there's still an epidemic. Like in Seattle, we're closed down until May 4th. You have New York, that's a hot spot. You have LA, that still is a hot spot. So all these players, like the Rams organization, the Seattle organization, then you have the New York Giants as well as the Jets. Those players are not flying anywhere right now because right now we are the hot spots, and it just doesn't make sense to keep the season going right now until we actually get back rolling and have this thing controlled. And it seems like, the NFL, they're only worried about, their financial aspect instead of worrying about player safety. Because there are a lot of players that can't get workouts in where other players can get those workouts in. So some of the players that actually have those workouts and are ready for NFL shape, hits and different things of that nature, it seems like they have more of an advantage where other people, they can't really do anything. So, like I said, it's the NFL's already stated that, they're trying to have a regular season because they don't want to push it out too far.
Yeah, it'll be definitely be interesting to see how that pans out for the NFL. All I know is that I can't wait for the NFL to come back. We're all missing sports here in the community, but during this lockdown, there is still some action going on in the NFL. There's of course three free agents right now, including Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, and Jadeveon Clowney. Let's get started with Cam Newton. Where do you see him being a good fit to where he can be a starter on a team? Because he's kind of had that mentality thus far that he doesn't want to go in and be a backup. Where do you see a good fit for him to come in and start right away?
Ooh, I was surprised the Patriots didn't go after him, or even the Bears. He could fight for that quarterback position with the Bears organization because they're kind of iffy. They have the wide receivers, they have the running back, and they have a great defense. Cam Newton didn't really have that in Carolina. He didn't really have any wide receivers. It was just him. And it was with him with RPO action all the time. After Steve Smith they traded Steve Smith to the Ravens, they didn't really have any wide receiver core out there. I mean, you have Funches, but he didn't really do anything. So I would say the Bears, but right now, the Bears picked up Nick Foles, of course. Right now, everybody's they're kind of quiet because Cam Newton has been inconsistent. Mm-hmm. He hasn't been healthy in, maybe like 3 to 4 years. If it's not a shoulder problem, it's his ankle or leg problem. So we don't know what you're going to get with Cam Newton. He's a big body to have. I would say, and I was like intrigued why the Chargers didn't go after him. Mm-hmm. Like the Chargers is an upcoming team, and they need to have, some type of star power because they are the second team in LA that haven't really done good. And I don't understand why they didn't get anybody with that type of star power to fill up seats. Right now, they got to fill up seats. So I say Cam Newton could go to the Chargers. I could actually see him maybe going to Miami, giving it a shot with Miami. Miami definitely needs a quarterback. They're rebuilding all the way within the offensive line as well as they need a defensive presence. So right now I'll say his best bet is Miami.
Okay. And obviously he's not going to get back to that MVP form that he was at the peak of his career. But do you think he can still be a playmaker if you get the right pieces around him in the NFL?
Oh yes. He's a big body. You still have to watch out for his legs. He can extend plays with his legs. And then also, you you have the RPO formation, which is definitely good. I mean, he has a great arm when given time to have time in the pocket. So, like I said, he can be that caliber MVP like he was in 2015 when he took the Panthers to the Super Bowl. He did it with basically nobody. It was just him. He was the MVP of that team that year in 2015. So I'll say, once healthy, Cam Newton can become that type of guy like he was in 2015.
Right. And we'll move now to another quarterback in Jameis Winston. Last season, he was the passing leader with 30 touchdowns, but he also matched that up with 30 interceptions as well. Last year, is he primed to become one of those patented backup quarterbacks that we see in the NFL now, like Nick Foles or Ryan Fitzpatrick, or do you think he can find a starting spot on one of these teams?
Oh, no. I think he has to earn his starting quarterback position, so he has to compete. I'll say maybe the Chargers can take Chargers need a quarterback, period, point blank. They need somebody. And with Jameson, he at times he can be spectacular with time. But he honestly, I felt like he needed like a veteran quarterback to kind of mold him when he first came into the league. They just threw him out there, and he was supposed to be, the star quarterback and this and that. And he had the wide receiver core as well as a great running back, but he just didn't have the formula. And I felt like he needed that veteran quarterback to kind of mold him, like how Brett Favre molded Aaron Rodgers for a little bit. And Tom Brady molded Jimmy G a little bit. He just needed to have that. But I would say I'll go with the Chargers again. And I could say also the Browns, but as a quarterback, that's where your career dies when you go to the Browns, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I like Baker Mayfield, but he hasn't progressed into the quarterback that he can be. It's just, I don't know, that quarterback situation is kind of weary at times. But I could see him being a backup for somebody. Again, I'm going to go with the Chargers. I say the Chargers because they need a quarterback. They're desperate for a quarterback and somebody that can bring a spark. With Phillip Rivers leaving, they don't have anybody. So they just need a quarterback. I don't care whether it's Cam Newton or Jameson. And I think Jameson within the Chargers organization, he'll fight for that starting quarterback, but anywhere else he'd be the backup.
Okay. And of course, Jameis Winston leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got a new quarterback in the building now, and he's the GOAT, Tom Brady. He's going to have some weapons as well. What are your expectations for Tom Brady in his first year as a Buccaneer?
I don't see no expectation. That man, like at the end of the day, you have to think, that man is 40 plus years old. One big hit could end his career. And that's why a lot of people didn't really want to take Tom Brady. Yes, we know what he's capable of, but also I think it was with that division first and foremost, as well as the scheme. That's Bill Belichick's scheme, and it was the right fit for Tom Brady. But honestly, that division is going to be tough. Everybody says, they want to see Tom Brady be successful and he'll win another championship with another team. But look at what the Saints have did. Look at what the Falcons have did. And look at what the Carolina Panthers have did as well. And that division is stacked. So I don't see Tom. I think it might be an 8-8 year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it's going to be a pretty exciting year as far as that division is concerned.
It will certainly be different not seeing him in the blue and silver. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our final free agent that's on watch alert right now, Jadeveon Clowney. He's kind of bounced around the last few years. The numbers really haven't backed up how good he has been. There's a lot of different options for him right now, but it seems like Seattle might be the best place right now, especially with Russell Wilson doing a little recruiting, tell him to come back.
Oh, yes. I mean, he was a force when healthy. He definitely gave the defensive presence for the Seattle something to talk about. Out here, they used to be called the Legend of Boom. They're kind of, trying to find their identity now. They have a whole bunch of youth. And it's not that defense that, the Seahawks are known for anymore. And Clowney, he disrupts a lot of different things. And I think he's the best fit for them right now. I know he wants, I think, 19 mil. But at the same time, he can't stay healthy. That's the problem. He can't stay healthy, and that's why no teams are willing to pick him up, because it's like, I'm signing you to play, now 17 games now, but you're only playing maybe, a potential 8 or 9. And that's not going to cut it for any type of these organizations. So right now, Seattle is willing to give him the money that he deserves and that he has earned with the Seattle Seahawks. And he's a big force on that defensive presence. So, like I said, I figured that the Seahawks going to grab him.
Okay. Once again, Fago Franklin III joining us here on the Inside Voice Sports Show. Fago, let's move to the NFL draft. It was supposed to be a huge year for the draft. They were going to move it to Vegas, the top picks coming in on a boat. Obviously, the coronavirus has really limited what you can do there, so it's going to be moved online. How do you see that going with all these people that need to be making decisions and they can't be in the same room to do it? How do you think that's going to affect the NFL draft?
Oh, man, chaos. It's going to be chaos all over the place. I mean, you got to make sure everybody's on the right call at the same time. You got to make sure, that the agents is corresponding with the team and different things of that nature. All I can just say, it's just unorthodox. I think it should have been postponed, to be honest, because these kids work so hard, to get to this place, to get to the NFL draft, and all they can do is take a phone call and just say, hey, you're drafted to XYZ. I don't think it's right. I think, honestly, that they should find some way to celebrate the younger players that actually made it to the top tier of pro sports as far as football is concerned. And all I can say is going to be chaotic. All we can do is just play it by ear. Like I say, I feel like the NFL, they just worry about the financial aspect and trying to get their fans in there, and not really worried about, the players. Because the players actually make up football. And like I said, this is just wrong. The same thing with the NCAA, and I'm not trying to switch subjects, but it's the same thing with them. I mean, you canceled their whole tournament, and that some of those, that's their last tournament. They're seniors now, and it just doesn't make sense. So, like I said, whenever sports get back on track, or as well as America get back on track, I personally think that these kids should be celebrated, whether it's a parade or something.
Okay. And of course, one of those top players coming in this year's draft is Joe Burrow. It's pretty obvious he's going to go number 1. What are teams seeing from him that makes them want to pass up on players like Ohio State's Chase Young, who is by and far the best athlete in this year's draft?
What he did with LSU. I mean, he dominated Clemson. He dominated, and that put a stamp on it right there, because Clemson, that was the team to beat. Alabama was, at first was the team to beat, but then they ended up getting beat by Georgia. And it's like, all right, I see you. And we already know that Clemson was the next team if Alabama didn't, get roadblocked by Georgia. But anywho, Joe, he's tall. He can see over defenders. He has a pretty deep long ball. It's very accurate. He throws the long ball at, I think, 33%, which is okay. He evades defenders. And he has that long stride. He don't shock you as a person that is very mobile, but when he gets out in the open floor, he can actually make defenders miss and pick up yards in the field. So that's what a lot of people are seeing. And he's just a big quarterback. Some people actually compare him to Tom Brady, to be honest.
And then another quarterback coming up in this year's draft that's drawing in a lot of controversy is Tua Tagovailoa. He's being analyzed right now to be right around that 3rd pick, probably by the Dolphins. Is it too much risk to go and get Tua, or is it going to be more of a reward factor whenever he comes into the league?
I say because it's going to be a risk because of his injuries. The injuries that he has had in the past, it was devastating. And to come back from that injury is, a 50-50 chance. But what else do other teams have to lose? All you can say is, hey, I drafted this person. He did A-OK. it was in high expectations, and that's especially with the Dolphins. No high expectations. They don't have a quarterback. They haven't had a winning season in maybe 4 to 5 years. They're looking for that type of spark. And Tua can definitely give that spark. When healthy, he's lethal. He throws short passes pretty well. He throws the long ball pretty well. I like him when he throws to his left. He's pretty accurate with throwing to his left. His right, he can definitely improve on. And he can evade defenders. We've seen that so many times. And he's that type of person that's willing to make things happen with his feet or either his arm. And that's somebody you can definitely count on when it's crunch time. So, like I say, it will be a risk factor more so on the aspect of his health. But the reward factor is when healthy, this dude is lethal and he can take a team, a losing team, and mold it into a winning organization. And that's why I feel with this young gentleman.
And the big example that the top scouts are drawing is back to the 2017 draft when the Bears traded up to get Mitch Trubisky, and the person they passed up on was Patrick Mahomes. So a lot of people have that fear of missing the next big thing, and it definitely seems like Tua has the skill set to be able to be one of those top players in the NFL because, like you mentioned, his skills translate very well. But that takes us now to the wide receiver part of the draft. A lot of the people surrounding the draft say this could be one of the top wide receiver classes in NFL draft history with players like CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma and then Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs out of Alabama. Henry Ruggs running a 4.2740 at the NFL draft. Which are one of the top receivers that you're looking at coming into the first round of this draft?
Henry Ruggs. Only on the aspect, he's pretty fast. He runs his routes pretty well. And he's a physical wide receiver. I love it. My thing with him, as I tell anybody, is more so on the health. And can you play up to the NFL expectations? We saw what he did in college. And in college, pretty dynamic. Can he transition that to the NFL? That's what we're going to say, but I'm picking him just on the aspect of his speed, his route running, and just getting off the line pretty quick. I'm going with him. Okay. He's a game changer.
And then CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma, he's one of those taller wide receivers. How do you see his game translating into the NFL?
I mean, since he's tall, he's a big body to have for any organization, period, point blank. He catches the ball pretty well. His route running can definitely improve a little bit. You can play him in the slot, and he will dominate that slot position. Getting on somebody down the field, he don't really have too much of that speed. Getting away from defenders going down the field on deep flat passes. But that could definitely improve. But I would say he would be dynamic if he was put in the slot position.
Okay. All right. Well, Fago, thank you for joining us here on the Inside Voice Sports Show. Once again, you can follow Fago Franklin on Instagram at superjournalist87 and also on YouTube at Fago Franklin III. And make sure you find us on Instagram at the Inside Voice Sports Show at Inside Voice Sports. Also on Twitter at the Inside Voice _ So, Fago, thank you once again. Stay safe out there in Seattle. We wish all the best for you, and hopefully we can get back to sports as soon as possible.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, my friend.
Have a good one.